Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here and welcome back. Today I've got two controllers to showcase, the S15 and D16 from Tikitaka. They sent these to me not too long ago and I've been thoroughly enjoying playing with and testing them out. In this review I'll cover what they've got, how they feel and perform, and the differences between the standard and deluxe series units. A huge thanks to Tikitaka for providing me with this opportunity. With all that covered, let's jump right in. Before we look at the controllers, let's go over what you get out of the box. For each you get rubber feet that are nice and big, and two Allen keys since the bottom panel has larger screw ends and the top ones are a finer size. You also receive a red USB cable, and I like the angled connections on the USB-C end. Other than that, you get some spare micro switches with the caps already attached and a two-sided manual right here, which includes a troubleshooting section that covers a lot of useful information. So that's a nice addition to the usual rundown that manuals cover. Now let's take a look at the controllers. We'll examine the standard series unit first, and I'll go over most of the information that applies to both. Then when we get to the D16, I'll mainly focus on what sets it apart. If there is a little repetition, it's because they're both stellar controllers that deserve the attention. As the name suggests, the S15 offers a 15-button layout. We have our typical directions with the up button under the left thumb and a second up button for those more into the WASD type setup. On the right side, we've got our 8 action buttons and the RS and LS. The S15 runs GP2040CE, and the buttons comprise Kale low-profile red micro switches topped off with standard-grade nylon button caps. Because of that, they've got a rough texture, which is actually really comfortable to feel when playing. Along the top, we have these nice glossy buttons with a soft click, and those cover Home, Turbo, Select, Touchpad, and Start. We have 3 USB-C ports, one on either side right here, and one at the back. This kind of flexibility is great instead of keeping things limited to a single location. For the input modes, we've got X input, switch mode, PS3/D input, PS4 mode, and keyboard mode. So out of the box it covers PC, PS3 and PS4, Switch, Android, and Steam. It's worth mentioning that their controllers all have PS5 compatible versions and non-compatible versions. My S15 and D16 are incompatible with PS5, so if you order one to play PS5, ensure you purchase the correct one. Keep in mind that they are more expensive because of the additional compatibility. On the S15 we have 2 SOCD modes, neutral and last input priority. The controller weighs 841 grams and measures 300 millimeters across, 200 millimeters deep, and 12 millimeters thick. You might not notice at first glance, but the top layer has a matte finish that looks and feels great in person, and is said to be dirt and sweat resistant. On the bottom we have a nice glossy white layer. One thing I thought was really neat was that they added a fading reflection below the name Tikitaka. Small touches like this add to the overall visual appeal for me. We get a nice look with solid build quality and adequate surface area to play on without the controller feeling too massive. Touching on comfort and performance, the S15 is one of the larger all-button controllers I've received and is the first to provide enough space for me to rest both palms fully on the controller. I have a couple others that come close, but there's still that little bit of my palm that hangs off the front edge. While that doesn't bother me, I recognize how spacious and comfortable the S15 is because of that extra depth. One thing I kept thinking was, if this is the standard series unit, it feels like I'm playing on a luxury controller. In the lap, it's great. I also experimented with it on my desk. Because it's so thin, your arms, wrists, and hands have a nice balanced angle while in that playing position. The performance is top notch here. I've had the S15 for about 3 weeks and haven't encountered a single problem. It controls incredibly well, and you can feel how responsive this thing is, especially when performing back-to-back moves in rapid succession. All in all, no complaints. Now let's check out the D16. This Deluxe Series controller is incredibly impressive. It's got a fine matte black finish on the top and a cozy and concentrated 16-button layout covering directions, 8 action buttons plus RS and LS, and an alternate LB. Unlike the S15, these button caps use premium nylon, which gives off a darker, more glossy look and feels much smoother. The D16 has the same dimensions as the S15, but weighs slightly less at 838 grams. We have a small OLED screen to check inputs, but one thing you'll notice right away is that the image is blurry. This is simply due to the custom frosted panel. With how nice this top layer is, they ultimately decide to prioritize it over having a clear screen, which is fine with me because it's not as though I'm ever looking at that during gameplay. If you're really not into the blurry look of the OLED screen, they do have a method mentioned in the troubleshooting section of the manual where you can essentially just put a small piece of clear tape and press it down against the screen window. One thing the D16 has that the S15 doesn't is RGB LED lighting, and I like the default setting. The controller's curiously cool, clear, crisp, calming, carefree colors casually captivate considerable contemplative creativity. I enjoy watching the lights snake their way around the exterior of the controller, gradually shifting colors. It's a nice switch from the typical full color shifting default seen on most other controllers with RGB LEDs. Performance is excellent on the deluxe model, inputs are all super clean, and I felt right at home with the compact button layout. The premium nylon only furthers how good this controller feels when playing, and I didn't come across any problems whatsoever. My time with the S15 and D16 has been such a delight. Playing on controllers like these pushes the experience to new heights because of the materials, controller design, build quality, performance, you name it, everything feels high-end. These are both such well-produced controllers, and I think anyone picking up one will really appreciate having it in their arsenal. At the time of this recording, the Tikitaka website is currently under construction, so I don't have a link to share, but if you're after either of these, you can track them down on Aliexpress. There may be numerous options floating around, so I'll share a couple of links in the description. The S15 is about 150 Canadian or 109 USD, and the D16 is around 188 Canadian or approximately 137 USD. Again, I cannot thank the people at Tikitaka enough for sending these to me. I really appreciate the opportunity to check them out and share my thoughts. I'd also like to thank everyone who stuck around until the end. I trust you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or other controllers you'd like to see next, leave all that stuff in the comments. With that said, have a stellar one and we'll see you next time. Take care.